I bought the X100V when it first launched after unsuccessfully trying to find a X100F for several months. It seems like this camera line has a very dedicated following, and when people buy these cameras, they don't always let them go. Now, when the Fuji X100V launched, I bought it because I had one simple goal, and that was to replace my iPhone as my everyday camera. It was for this reason that I never shot RAW files. I just shot everything on JPEG using film simulations from Fuji X100 Weekly. Shout out to Richie. That guy makes incredible film simulations. If you have a Fuji camera and you're not using his app, go ahead and download it now. This video is obviously not sponsored. But I only ever shot in JPEG because I didn't want another camera system to have to edit RAW files. I just wanted to shoot photos and put them directly into my photo library. I mean, that really was what the appeal of the X100V was to me, that I could just preload some film recipes with looks that I wanted, take photos all day, and they are already edited, and just stick them in my photo library. And I did that for 2 years with this camera. I have thousands of photos in my photo library, some of them you're seeing right now, and all of them straight out of the camera. It's safe to say that I know this camera system very well. Well enough to tell you today that I have 0 regrets from selling it. A friend of mine bought it from me, and recently I borrowed it back from him. This is actually my Fuji X100V from several years ago that my friend owns now and so generously loaned me for a little while because I wanted to see if I would feel the same after some time apart. I don't. I feel more affirmed about selling this camera than I even did when I sold it. I have a philosophical problem with the Fuji X100 line. On paper, this camera is feature-rich in every way, and the X106 even takes it further. But features are just a small part of a camera. I mean, after all a camera is a light-sealed box with a shutter. Now, yes, I'm describing in the simplest terms a film camera because the film receives the light that comes into the black box when the shutter opens, but a digital camera really is the same thing, but they keep packing more and more tech into digital cameras to give us great autofocus and efficiency and things that just make the experience more predictable so we get more photos that we love. Makes all the sense in the world. And in terms of efficiency and getting more photos correct when we press the shutter, tech helps us do that. But tech isn't really what photography is about. In its most simplest, purest form, photography is the act of capturing the moment. Yes, the technical process goes from our head to our hands to the camera's tech, and then we use the camera's tech to capture that moment as best we can. But when we pack a camera full of tech, it becomes either a computer or a piece of machinery. And computers and machinery don't really inspire me in my hands to make my best work. For me, it's all about the experience. And that's what my philosophical problem with the X100 line is that I do not love the experience of using this camera. And let's just pause for a quick minute, and I just want to say that if you're enjoying this video or finding it helpful for you, be sure to subscribe to this channel. I post 2 videos every week unless something goes horribly wrong. You see, what I discovered after shooting thousands of photos with this camera is that the feeling that I had once I used this camera and then began to look at the images, that feeling was the exact same feeling that I have when I use this, which is another tech-rich piece of machinery, does a lot of things great, and has a fantastic camera on paper, and it does so many things that we can have in the palm of our hand at any given time. But the feeling of using this, were identical for me. Ultimately, I can shoot with this, and in the same way I can use film simulations on the X100 series, I can simply use apps that give me that same look. And in all honesty, it's really not that much different in terms of the results that you're looking at on paper side by side. Now, I have a lot of different cameras, and I've had many different camera systems over the years. Right now in my active camera kit, I've got various film cameras, and then I've got Leicas and Sonys for digital. So I definitely have diversity in my camera lineup. But every camera that I have tried and kept, I've kept because the experience of using it and the feeling that I have when I use it is different than the other camera beside it. And since the Fuji X100 line feels a lot like the iPhone, and again, I just can't stress this enough for all you people that love the X100 line, I'm not saying that the experience is exactly the same in terms of your hands, but the feeling when you're looking at what you've got. And for me, the joy of capturing that moment is identical for me on the iPhone and the X100V. Because those are the same, then really I have to go to that mindset that the best camera is the one you have with you. And if we're honest with ourselves, we always have this camera with us. It's always with me, so it's always ready to go. And for that reason, I sold the X100V, and I have absolutely no plans to get the X100VI. Okay, let's take a quick break from this heavy, seemingly negative conversation, and let me just invite you out here to the Bay this summer to come join me and a crew of people for the Bay Area Workshop. We'll be having a 3-day workshop June 20th, 21st, and 22nd right here in the Bay Area. We're gonna visit some awesome locations. We're gonna have a great time of just hanging out and shooting together. I've got some fun stuff planned, some great insight into some processes that I can't wait to share with you guys. I've tried to make this workshop as affordable as possible so that it is very accessible. Some friends are gonna be popping in along the way, so check out the details right below and join us this summer for the Bay Area Workshop. All right, let's get back into this Fuji X100 talk. So speaking of the X100VI, it is a very hard to find camera still. There are so many people still waiting to have a pre-order fulfilled. And maybe you are somebody who is trying to figure out if this is a camera that you should buy. Not to throw any shade on the system. I mean, I've talked about my personal take, my personal experiences, my personal truth about this system. But what I would say to you, if you're considering getting into the Fuji X100 line, is to get an older Fuji. In fact, I am seeing the Fuji X100V pop up locally here in the Bay for $1,000, and there were a few listed as low as $700, which is an incredible price point to try this camera out and see how you feel about it. And I would tell you, go out and shoot a ton of photos and just see how it feels, not what the features are, not the tech that's in it, not the hype that's around it, but how does it make you feel to use it? Exposure after exposure and place after place. Spend 3 to 6 months with it, take it out everywhere you go and try it and see if it resonates with you. Now, this was a hard video to make because it feels a little negative, and if you've been around this channel for any length of time, I don't really do a lot of negative things, but I did want to just share my thoughts because I have been asked quite a bit about the X100VI, if I'm planning to get one, my thoughts on it. And while I have zero experience with the X100VI, I have years of experience with the X100V and wanted to share that experience with you on this video. Would love to open up a conversation in the comments below, a nice civil one, or if you have other questions, feel free to DM me. I am an open book, especially regarding things like this. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. I hope it's helpful. I mean, I want to be helpful and add value to you and your own personal journey. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.